Bruh, do you see the dust? That's how you know my TBR is full, when my books start collecting dust. Hey guys, so I have been just putting off filming a reading wrap-up video for every single month. I don't really know what's going on because it's the end of April and I'm like, maybe I should film a wrap-up for January, February, March, and April all in one video. I got my handy dandy reading log, so I'm gonna go through the books that I've read so far this year. I'll give you guys a rating, a little bit of the synopsis, a little bit of a breakdown of what the book's about. We'll just say that. I have read 29 books so far. I'm on my 30th book. So the first book that I read this year was the one and only Archer's Voice. I ended up reading this book 5 stars. I love this book so much. It was such a great book to start my year off. So this book is basically about a girl named Bree that is trying to escape from her past. So she goes on a little trip to this town just to kind of find herself and have like a little peace of mind on her own, and she ends up running to this guy named Archer, and Archer doesn't have a voice, so he can't talk, but Bree knows sign language, so they communicate that way, and it is just such a heart like warming story between the two of them. And I literally fell in love with Archer Hale as Bree was falling in love with him. I love this man. I love Bree. The characters are amazing. There's apparently a second book out now for Archer's cousin Travis. It's like the enemy in this book, so I haven't wanted to read it yet because I did not like him in this book. Let me know if you guys have read Travis yet and if you guys liked it, because dude's gonna need a huge redemption if I'm gonna want to read his book, because he made me want to throw this book across the room. The next book that I read was The Perfect Marriage, and I don't have a physical copy of this book. I hated this book. I hated it. This was my first book that I've ever given 2 stars to. The only reason why I didn't give it 1 star is because I give books 1 star when I DNF it, which means that I don't finish it. So I got 2 stars by being generous. The plotline sucked. I feel like a child could have came up with it. And I know a lot of people like this book. It was like all over Book Talk. I don't know why. I literally don't know why. I strongly dislike this book and I do not recommend it. If you want a good thriller, read like Frida McFadden or Alice Feeney. Don't read that. Like, the quotes that the characters would say, I physically cringed. Give me the ick. So, yeah. 2 out of 5 stars, and being generous with that one. I did not like it. The next book that I read was my first Frida McFadden book, which is called The Housemaid. I did this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. I loved this thriller. It was so good. It kind of reminded me of Verity by Colleen Hoover. So it's basically about this girl that is looking for a job, and she gets hired to be a housemaid for like this rich family, and a bunch of weird things start happening in the house. The wife is just very weird, and she's like kind of wondering why, like what is truly going on. She's like finding weird things in their house as she's cleaning, and she's just very confused, like what is going on with this family. And there's a romance in it. Then the plot twist, so good. I love that. If you guys want a good like quick thriller, highly recommend The Housemaid. And there's also a second book, which I'll talk about later. The next book that I read was Never Lie by Frida McFadden. Never Lie ended up rating 3.5 out of 5 stars, I believe. It was really good. It's basically about this couple that goes to this house and they get stuck there, I think because of a snowstorm, I believe. The girl who lived there prior was a psychiatrist, I think. So she taped each of her sessions, and so yeah, the couple gets stuck there. She ends up finding like this secret room that is full of cassette tapes. She starts listening to them, and then she starts kind of putting the pieces together of how the psychiatrist ended up dying. And there's a bunch of twists. It's really good, but like part of it didn't really add up to me. I was like kind of confused. I was like, okay, this is like so far-fetched that I just don't know if I like it. Next book that I read was Every Last Word by Tamara Ireland Stone. Oh my gosh. This was a 5-star read for me. If anything, I would say that it's 6 star. I love this book with my entire heart. This was definitely probably my top reads like ever. It's a young adult book. This book is about a girl who's kind of like out of place in her high school friend group. She's like part of the popular girl friend group, and she's constantly like isolated, and she's not really happy. So she joins this poetry group and she meets this guy, It's just so sweet. It's such a cute romance. There is a huge plot twist in this book that I did not see coming whatsoever. I was like, okay. This book touches so much on mental health, which is why I loved it so much, because you guys know that I'm such a strong advocate for mental health, and this book I feel like touched on it perfectly. Like the therapists and stuff that are in this book, the mental illnesses that they talk about, I feel like it was just talked about in such a great way, which is why I loved it so much. So if you guys want like a really good young adult book, I highly recommend Every Last Word. I read this book in like a day and I still think about it. The next book that I read, Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. This book got so much hype and I understand why. The plot twist, still think about it. The way Alice Feeney manipulated me was... So this book is basically how this couple goes on like this little retreat, and it's like in this small town, and they stay at this chapel, and the chapel's like pretty creepy, and there's just a bunch of weird things going on, and they're like, okay, where are we really staying? Like, who sent us here? Like, why are we here? And it basically goes back and forth from the past to the present, and the plot twist will have you staring at the book wondering, what did I just read? I rated this 4 out of 5 stars. Loved it, but the reason why I didn't rate it 5 stars is because it didn't give me the 5-star feeling. The next book, The Cheat Sheet. This book I rated 4.75 out of 5 stars. The only reason why I didn't give it 5 stars is because the main character in this book, the girl, Bree, she's a little bit of a a pick-me girl, and it kind of made me want to throw my book across the room a few times, but still so cute. This book is so adorable. Like, makes me want to throw confetti in the air type of adorable, you know? This book is about Bree and Nathan, and they've been friends since high school. Bree is a dancer and Nathan is an NFL football player. Something happens where they end up needing to fake date, basically for like PR. Nathan is amazing, and I love this couple so much. I do truly still think about this book probably almost every single day. Your Soul is my favorite in this entire world. So good. So good. The Love Hypothesis. This book I ended up rating 4 out of 5 stars. So basically, this book is about a professor falling in love with like a student. So, a little bit crazy. Olive kisses Adam, just the spur of the moment, just because she wants to prove that she was like on a date or whatever, and her roommate walks by and she was like, oh my gosh, I told her I was going on a date. So she kisses him, and it leads to this whole thing where everybody's like, oh my gosh, she's dating a professor. What is going on? And so, whole fake dating trope. He's like a very grumpy man, grumpy sunshine trope. I ended up rating this only 4 stars just because I didn't really connect with Adam that much in this book. It was still super cute, and I do highly recommend this book, especially if you guys love science, you know, because they're like science. I'm losing brain cells trying to film this. Oh no, this next book, you guys. One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book, you guys, 5 out of 5 stars, 100%. I think about this book still almost every single day. The quotes that I have annotated in this book are absolutely insane. And I literally felt so connected to this book in a way that I have not felt connected to a book before. And it's being turned into a movie, I'm pretty sure, like, maybe even like tomorrow. So this book is basically about Emma, and she falls in love with her high school sweetheart, Jesse. And they have this cute, super great relationship. They love to travel a lot, and you basically see their relationship unfold. He gets into a helicopter crash and ends up going missing and pronounced dead. She has to deal with that heartbreak of losing her high school sweetheart and her husband. And after she's done healing from that, she ends up seeing her childhood best friend, Sam, and they kind of reconnect and start hitting it off, and she starts falling in love with Sam, and then Jesse is found. He is brought back to her, and she's like, oh my gosh, my high school sweetheart, my husband, or my fiance, Sam. And you just kind of go back and forth between, oh my gosh, who is she gonna pick? Who is she gonna end up with? And it is so like heartbreaking. Oh my gosh, I love this book so much. This book got the tears going. After that book, I was kind of on like a Taylor Jenkins Reid kick. I was like, I need something else to make me feel this way. So I read After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I ended up rating this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. I loved the characters in this book, but it was just kind of hard for me to connect to it overall because this book is about Lauren and Ryan, and they basically have been married and their marriage starts to fall like a little bit flat. They just start arguing a lot and like not really connecting how they used to. And so they decided to take a 1-year break without communicating, without living with each other, without like seeing each other anywhere. They just cut off all communication, try to see if they can grow on their own and then essentially grow back together. It is such like a real and raw story about a struggling marriage, so it kind of reminded me of All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover in that way. I just couldn't really relate to this book, so that's why I did rate it 3.5. It was still really good. I still do recommend it. I feel like it kind of has to hit like a certain audience for it to be a 5-star read. The family in this book is so cute. I love them, and I do recommend this book. The next book that I read was Before We Were Strangers by Renee Carlino. The book is basically about Gracie and Matt, who they found each other in college in their dorms, and they ended up connecting really well. They were friends for a really long time. Matt got this job offer that he like needed to take, and there was a whole falling out between them. And basically this book just explains the timeline before they were strangers. The love that they have for each other is absolutely insane. It feels so real, especially because I'm a college student and them being in college during this time. I just loved it. 4 out of 5 stars. Such a cute romance. The romance just seems so real. It's like, it's hard to find like a book where it's not like extremely cheesy and like, bleh. But this romance was so real. And the reason why I didn't rate it 5 stars is because the end of the book just seemed really rushed, and it had part of a miscommunication trope, and I don't really like that trope. It just kind of makes me want to scream to the book and be like, you guys are dumb, can you just communicate? I still do really recommend this book, but I just feel like part of it was not really for me. Magnolia Parks. You guys, I rated this book 4 out of 5 stars. This book has a special place in my heart. This entire series, I'm so excited to finish it. So this book is basically about Magnolia and BJ, and they have been in an on and off relationship for such a long time. And if you guys love Gossip Girl or like Keeping Up with the Kardashians, read this book. Their relationship is so toxic, so definitely do not like get this book for like the romance. It is not like a cute little romance book. This is more of like a drama between rich people. All have like their own like private plane. Magnolia is always wearing designer clothes, like rich people, and I love reading about rich people because I'm like, I want to be rich. I want to be like that. But their relationship is so toxic, but in that way it's just like I cannot get enough of it. Like I want to keep reading. People are gonna be mad at me for this book. Daisy Jones and the Six. You guys saw I made a reading vlog about this book, and it was like a really short reading vlog because I simply did not like it. I did rate it 3 stars out of 5 because I feel like the plot line is just so unique that I feel like it didn't deserve 2 stars, but I didn't love it. So many people were like, oh my gosh, like I'm crying, like this book is pulling on my heartstrings. This book did not make me feel that way. A very unpopular opinion, but I did not like this book. So basically this book is about girl named Daisy Jones and then this band, The Six, and it's basically about how they start from the bottom and get to the top of a huge upcoming band in the 70s, I believe, and that is just not my favorite era to read about, I think. Presented out as like an interview style, like kind of like if you were to read a play, you have like the character's name and then them speaking and then the next character and then them speaking. It didn't pull me in. I wasn't really into it. I was kind of reading it and I was like, I really want this book to be over. And then I was looking at TikToks and people were like, no, you gotta listen to the audiobook, like it's so much better. So I ended up buying the audiobook, and it still made me want to like speed up the audiobook, and I'm like, I just want to get this book over with. I mean, I recommend it for certain people, but if you're like me and you have the same like book taste as me, not my fave. The next book that I read was called The Housemaid's Secret by Frida McFadden. So this book is basically the second book to The Housemaid, and it's about the same main character. She goes to this other house to basically be a housemaid there, and once again there's some weird things happening again. Like the wife is constantly in her room, she's cleaning the wife's clothes and there's like blood on them, and she's like, what is going on? The wife doesn't even talk to her. She just kind of like will poke her head out a little bit just to see what she's doing and leave it at that. The book is absolutely insane. 4.5 out of 5 stars. I love this book. I love the twist. It was such a good like second book to the first one. and there's still romance in it, and it just made me want to, so good. Romance and thriller together are my fave. The next book I read, it's called Brain Damage by Frida McFadden. I rated this book 2 out of 5 stars. I was so bored during this book. I honestly don't even know how I finished it. I love Frida McFadden, so I'm like, I want to read another one of her books after I just read The Housemaid's Secret. Like, I need more. So this book is basically about a girl that obviously has brain damage, and she can't remember like what happened to get her in this state. So she's like trying to like rebuild her memory and trying to actually figure out what happened to her. And the plot twist was not a plot twist to me, and I feel like it wasn't even like a thriller. It was like a very emotional book of this girl trying to deal with her new life now that she has brain damage and is struggling. And it's just, it wasn't the book for me. Don't recommend. I didn't like it. Let me know if you guys have read this book and what you thought of it, because I haven't really heard anybody read this book, and I just wasn't my fave. Was not my fave. The next book that I read, The Risk, which is part of the Mindfuck series. Mindfuck series is a series of 5 books. I'm just gonna rate it overall as the 5 because it's pretty complicated. Each of the books are only like 100, 200 pages. I ended up rating the series 5 out of 5 stars. Criminal Minds. If you guys love Criminal Minds and like a little bit of romance, you need to read this series. So this series is about a girl named Lana who is trying to seek revenge, and she becomes a serial killer because she's trying to seek revenge, and you'll figure out why later on. And she starts dating this FBI agent who happens to be working on her case. So he is trying to figure out who is killing all these people. Well, meanwhile, it is his girlfriend, and he has no idea. I've never been so invested in a series. I was like, oh my gosh, I need more. I need to keep reading this. I was Team Lana the entire time. I was like, girl, you go get your revenge. You deserve it. You've been through so much. A great series. Next book that I read was If He Had Been With Me. This book is so heartbreaking. Basically about this girl named Autumn and her neighbor Finney, and they grow up together. Like, they call each other's moms like their aunts. Like, they're just super close. They have like family dinner, very close friendship. And then they get into high school and they kind of start to drift apart a little bit. Finney has a new girlfriend and Autumn has a boyfriend, and they just kind of drift apart. Eventually something happens and they start communicating again. And literally you find out how this book ends on the first page of the book. So like, you know what's coming. You know that it's going to happen, but you kind of like forget about it as you're reading the story, and then it happens and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to like throw up. That's why I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. I did feel like the ending was pretty rushed. Like, yes, I knew it was going to happen in the end, but I feel like it could have been like a little bit pieced up a little bit more. But other than that, it was a really heartbreaking read. Next book that I read is called Do Not Disturb, and it's also by Frida McFadden. I ended up rating this book 3.5 out of 5 stars, I believe. So this book is basically about a girl who kills her husband, and she's like, oh my gosh, I need to like get away. Like, before they find his body, I need to leave. So she's on the run for it. She stops at this motel and she ends up staying the night there, and she notices a lot of weird things happening, and one of the doors on the motel has a do not disturb sign. And she's like, why is the store never available? What is going on? And there's like this other girl who stays at the motel and is like this tarot card reader, and she's like, you are in so much danger, you need to get out of this motel. And she can't because there's a snowstorm, so she's snowed in. The plot twist, it got me. I was like, what is going on? The thriller was really good. I feel like it's more like a popcorn thriller. Like, if you want some entertainment, I recommend it. The next book I read, oh my, The Locked Door by Frida McFadden. 4.5 out of 5 stars. This book is basically about this girl, and her dad was a famous serial killer, and suddenly somebody's copying his way of killing, because he had like this certain way that he would kill people, and somebody starts doing it, basically a copycat killer, and she's like kind of getting questioned for it. Girl, what's going on? And she's like, this is not me, somebody's framing me, and there's like a bunch of weird things that are happening that are trying to frame her for these crimes. The plot twist in this book, once again, Frida McFadden, absolutely insane. I was like, I could not have guessed it. And there's also romance in this thriller too, and you guys know I love my romance and thriller together. So good. Highly recommend this thriller. The Housemaid and The Locked Door by Frida McFadden are my two fave Frida McFadden books. Oh no, you guys. This is what I've been currently reading. I started the Addicted / Calloway Sisters series. I have heard the hype about this series for so long, but I've been putting it off because I knew that they were going to create like the Berkeley versions of these books, which is like the new little editions. So good, you guys. I'll just talk about these books as one because, you know, it's a series. So first I read Addicted to You. The second book is Ricochet, and then Addicted for Now. And then I started reading the Calloway series, which is connected to this. And I read Kiss the Sky, and I'm currently in the middle of Hot House Flower. The first three books are about the characters Lily Calloway and Lauren Hale are basically fake dating because they both have these addictions that they are trying to cover from their family because their family's very, very rich and very like famous, so they don't want their addictions to get leaked. So Lily is addicted to sex and Lo is an alcoholic. Lily and Lo, so amazing. The first two books, I will say, are just kind of setting up for character development and setting up for the plot line overall. Addicted for Now is when it really starts, I would say, getting good. When like everything starts coming into play, where they start to heal, get rid of their addictions. After these ones, I did read Kiss the Sky, which is the first book in the Calloway Sisters series, which is intertwined with the Addicted series. And Kiss the Sky is basically about Rose and Connor. Rose is Lily's sister. Connor Cobalt was Lily's tutor for school, and they are like rivals, enemies to lovers, and I rated that book 5 stars. Connor and Rose are probably my favorite book couple of all time. Their banter is so good, and they're both like these super smart people, and it just, Connor Cobalt is who Christian Grey wishes he was, and I will die on that hill. I will keep saying that. That man, so great. And basically the series is a 10-book series. 6 characters that it follows is Lily Calloway, Rose Calloway, Daisy Calloway, and then their boyfriends, which is Lauren Hale, Connor Cobalt, and Reich Meadows. And it is so good. Just the connection that they all have with each other. It is such a great family dynamic, and I don't even want to keep reading the series because I don't want to finish it. Like, that's how good it is. Okay. Now the final book that I have read the first 4 months of this year, The Half of It by Madison Beer. So this book is a nonfiction book, and it's basically a memoir of Madison Beer's life throughout like her trying to figure out fame and struggle with social media. I rated this book 5 out of 5 stars because I have never felt so connected to a person before, and as someone that has like a good amount of following on social media, I knew exactly what she was talking about, and I like could connect with her struggles on a way that I haven't been able to connect with somebody before. So I felt like so understood, and the fact that she like mentioned her mental health I thought was so amazing, and she was so vulnerable just talking about her mental health struggles. I love that woman. If you guys have like any struggles with mental health and like don't want to feel alone, literally read her book. Or if you guys have a decent following on social media and struggle with like hate comments and things like that, read her book. Just, you will not feel alone. I want to give her a hug. I love that woman, and it was such a great read. So those are the 29 books that I've read in January, February, March, and April of this year. And now that summer's coming up next week, I have a feeling that I'm gonna get through a lot more books, and I'll try to be posting a lot more consistently. I'll try to do some more reading vlogs, the 24-hour reading vlogs, and like little things like that. I'll try to keep up to date on YouTube from now on, now that I'm done with school. I love you guys so much, and I hope that this was able to give you guys some good recommendations. Cool. I'm gonna go to Chipotle now. My cat wants to play fetch right now. Great timing, huh? Well, since I can't move right now and I need to wait till the blood flows back to my organ. No, this is great. This is great.